So, here we go again, number 78, the Darkness to Light Godcast. Myself, Jim McFadyen, here in the Vortex Centre for Wellbeing. Welcome back. I hope you're well. This video finds you well, this recording. And this one is called War is Hell. It's been a couple of weeks since my last one. I think the last one was called We're at War. And for the longest time, these times we're in just now, and the work that I'm attempting and absolutely doing on some level, it's kind of been preparing for these times. That's what it's kind of always felt like, with it being a doomsday. There's no prophecy. There's a wee bit of obviously the work that I do and the time that I've been doing it, and the things that I've seen on my journey, and the really kind of learned teachers that I've been blessed with, the spiritual teachers I'm talking about in this instance. And where we face, the times that we face just now and where we're at just now as a world, is we've never been here before. It doesn't feel like in my lifetime. And this video, I'm going to be talking about stuff that is quite interesting. When I always trying to keep it light, always trying to keep to the answers, always trying to keep to the solutions. What's the way forward? How do we fix it? And just before I was coming in here, obviously the title, War is Hell. It's like, and my wife actually said to me, keep it light. And I always do. That's my intention, is to keep it light. But sometimes you kind of need to look and see what it is that you're dealing with. Sometimes you need to, I think especially just now, acknowledge the darkness or the evil or whatever it is, the challenge that I face within this world, so we can, do something about it. The end goal would be to, do away with it, take it down, replace it. And that's the ultimate goal. That's what I believe a lot of this is what's going on just now. But at the same time, you've been listening to it and, even talking about it. You've got to be very, very careful. This is why I try and stay well away from truthers as much as I can. Because talking about it's one thing, talking about, all the stuff that's going on, especially just now, you can take your pick, what's going on in the world just now to talk about stuff that'll make you feel bad and it'll get you angry and it'll, put you into a state of stress and it'll get you worried. And how can it not? It's real, it's a lot of it is the truth that's going on just now, and a lot of it's not good. It doesn't make you feel good, but you need to be very careful. So if you're listening to this, I'm not just talking about it as a reporter, which almost everybody is. When you see the YouTube channels, and there's nobody really offering solutions, it's all just talking about how bad it is, what they're doing, what they're up to, how they're keeping us down, what they're, how they're not even hiding it anymore, what their dainty is, how they're in some ways just literally killing us. That's been very evident over the last 3 or 4 days. This is 4th of March, I'm recording this. And this really started, for real on Saturday, the 1st of March. That's when I really felt it for the first time. And it's been heavy going, and it's affected me, so before you get into this video, if you're quite happy where you're at and you don't want to get caught up in the as I see it, again, this is my perspective, the truths of this world and the challenges that we're currently facing in this world. And many people won't know, certainly a lot of this, but there's so many different levels to it. And again, there are levels beyond, but I'm quite happy where I'm at in terms of seeing what it is and understanding the nature of what we're dealing with, so we can do something about it. But I know there's way deeper and darker holes that people go down, and the truths within some of the things that happen in this world, you don't want to know. You're aware of it, but you don't really want to know. It's very, very disturbing. So for me, it's talk about what it is, but then how do we fix it? How do we get it back, to the way that it's meant to be? That's what this is all about. How do we get the world back towards the light? It's darkness to light. That's the intention. And Saturday morning, the way that it came in, incidentally, if I do yelp, which I almost did there, I did my back in yesterday. I had sciatic problems most of my life since I've been 12, 13, original kind of football injuries. And my back went on me completely yesterday, so I've actually, the Vortex, this is set up like a crib just now. I slept in here last night on my big camp bed. There's about 2 positions I can get into where I don't have this knife going right through. It actually feels like a samurai going right through my spine. It's terrific nerve pain. So if I do yelp, that's what's going on. And really grateful for, the ice and breathwork and meditation, managing the pain and even to get moving again. It was horrific when it happened yesterday. So that's what's going on on the kind of the physical side with me just now. I think, you know, again, the timing of that and the kind of stress that I've been under probably since the week before. So Saturday previous was the kind of start of it. Kind of a couple of bits of bad news for people that I love dearly. People that are going through some stuff just now, maybe even going back further than that, could be going back maybe 3 weeks. And really, when you're in this work and you're helping people, then you can't not get caught up in it, you know. And again, because of this work, I've got to be very careful, as I've found over, you know, many times over the years, like how negative it can affect me when I'm in this with people and working with people and helping people. You're in at a heart level, and I go in, it's at a heart level. And a soul level many times, you know, with the spiritual work, where you're sitting in meditations with them, or so when somebody's suffering, then it can not affect you. I don't believe it. Like, can not affect me? I'm in it with them. I'm trying to help, and I'm, you know, obviously offering, you know, the support without ever robbing anybody of their experience. Very important, you know, like giving people the answers, especially if they are struggling, and that can be very difficult. But really helping them and supporting them and being there for them, and in ways that, you know, it's maybe no visible, but certainly connecting in, and, you know, things like being in meditation together, or, you know, when you're in your own meditation, like tapping into them and sending them love and feeling where they're at, and just that compassion and empathy for, you know, someone who's, you know, looking through the best of times. That was the last few weeks. There's been a bit of that, and there's a few of us within, you know, the inner circle, I would say, that kind of were feeling that. And then Saturday, I woke up on Saturday morning, and it was really interesting. It felt like the Star Wars film where the planet gets blown up. I think it was the very first Star Wars, and Ben Kenobi's like, he comes in and he's like, you know, I think the ship actually gets a wee bit of shudder, but he can feel it's like there's a disturbance on the force, something's just happened. So a planet's been wiped out, and I woke up on Saturday morning, and at the time I just felt like something wasn't right. It didn't feel good, felt kind of off. Up early during the night, did my meditation for a couple of hours, but just was something. Then when I came to and started making the breakfast, and, you know, switched on social media, you know, as you do, and then you can't, as soon as you turn your phone on, it's not like I'm in social media looking for it, but you can't miss it. I've been watching it very closely over the last wee bit, probably the last 6 months to a year, been very aware of what's happening in the Middle East, and then what's happening in America, what's happening in the UK, without making it a daily thing, but, you know, keeping an eye on it, and, you know, thinking about the implications that it may have on me, that it may have on my family, that it may have on, you know, the world and the people, and, you know, just watching what they're doing. A lot of people are doing that. I think since COVID, a lot of the trust has been lost, and people are, you know, looking a lot closer. There's certainly there's more scrutiny, and it's a lot is captured as well now, you know, because of phones and cameras, and even just the way it's so out in the open now, you can't really miss it. And woke up on Saturday morning, after the meditation, and then turned on the social media, and that was there. You know, it was straight away. It was like the kind of preemptive strike by America and Israel on Iran, which again, years and years and years of watching and listening and learning about, you know, that whole region, and why it's the way that it is. Who's responsible for that, and how they've done it in the past, and the things they've got away with in the past, and who benefited from that, and also, you know, who was another side of that, who are the ones that, you know, lost many times, you know, everything, their lives, their families, their, you know, their countries, their way of living and being, and, you know, many times over many years, the formula in terms of how they do it. Because these things, you know, there's always a reason behind it. You need to look at, as with everything, what's the reason, what's the why, like who's to benefit for this, and it's always about money in that area, the natural resources that they've got, you know, with the gas and oil, which the world runs on at the minute. Then it's obviously, you know, it's controlling that and having access to it, and deciding, you know, how it gets used, who's got dibs on it, is so important. And obviously America, along with, you know, Britain and, you know, all of them, but they're probably the two main ones they have for the longest time. You know, when you look at what's happened, even in Iran, you know, how, you know, in Iraq and, you know, Syria, and you go through them all, and you see the impact of basically greed, and the need to control, and that power, and the benefits that come for that in terms of the money. It's been a really kind of probably the last 50, 60 years how difficult it's been, and I grew up with it, so I can remember on the television. I actually saw a BBC news clip, a reporter talking about the start of the war. Just watched it just before I come on YouTube. I was looking for the Iranian supreme leader, his name, I couldn't remember his name. And when this news reporter spoke, he's in Israel and he's reporting from Israel, and it was like as if he was speaking to children. This is BBC News, and as if he was talking to children, and it took me back to being a child, probably in the 80s, and just the way it would come on the telly and how you were really kind of listening to these stories about these people who you believed were evil. They were bad people. How they lived their life, how they controlled their countries, what they did to their people that they ruled over. And watching that this just half an hour ago before I come on here, and listening to the way this man spoke and to the level of people that I think this is the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. This is like our number one news channel. That's where the information comes through, and you see how this man was speaking in terms of what the side of the story that he was telling in terms of what was going on in the war, and feeding in the reasons that they were doing it and why it had to be done. So he's basically telling you, he's telling you that that it's okay. Don't worry. This is all for we're on this side, and these are bad people. And we're going to do away with them. And then cutting to your man Trump, the press conference. And then coming back and just seeing the side of the story that most people within the Western world, maybe different now, but certainly growing up, and certainly how we were programmed and trained to think about that part of the world and those people in that world, in that part of the world. It's obviously still going on, the propaganda, and because I know two sides to the story and the way that this was being told. And I've been checking in very much on the other side of the story over the last 4 days, and just interesting when you're able to go between and watch what the mainstream media, things like British BBC and Sky News, and what they're reporting and what the stories they're telling, and their angle and take on it is obviously very, very biased, and obviously how that feeds into the country, the most of the country, the newspapers that are reading, or wherever you're getting your information. It's on socials now, isn't it, mostly? But wherever that's coming in, then that creates your belief system, and that's the side that you're on, that's the side that you believe in because of what they tell you. And there's really there's no winners in this. The quote that I've heard quite a few times is it's easy to start a war, but very, very difficult to finish it. And the start of it was dead simple. What happened on Saturday morning. The couple of really significant things, obviously many significant things. Many thousand of people have already lost their lives on both sides. But the number one thing that you heard straight away was that they'd taken out the leader, the supreme leader of Iran, where again he's been sold and told to us as this kind of madman, this religious fanatic, who. The big thing is, and the reason for them doing it is because they don't want Iran to ever have nuclear weapons, which is really interesting, because when you understand and you know anything about the leader, he was a spiritual leader. It would be the equivalent of, they reckon, if you read or you listen to some of the Iranian side, Iranian journalists that are actually there and reporting on it, it's the equivalent of like the Roman Catholic Church losing the Pope, like somebody assassinating the Pope. And this man, he knew that they were coming for him. He was a great holy man, apparently, learned kind of scholar. Obviously, it's very, very different for the way that we do it, and their particular religion and how they live their lives, and it's fascinating watching how we always believe that because we don't understand it or we feel threatened by it, then we need to change it. They shouldn't be living in a certain way, and then you look at them and you've got to ask it, because it's free will, isn't it? That's the whole thing. It's like that whole somebody try to tell you what to do. Free will is like allowing them to live any way that they choose, and the big thing from America has been, the country is not under the leadership that it desires, so we're going to go in and basically take out this leadership, and then you, the people, we will help you by funding it and, obviously supplying the military support. We'll help you bring in, the correct, the democratic, elect leader that would be voted in by the people, as opposed to this, regime that's just went in and took it. Many reports when they killed the man, the fascinating thing was he decided to stay. He didn't get into hiding. He could have easily went into hiding. He could have, been in a bunker somewhere or out the road there. But Iran knows just now that this is, it's such an important time for them as a people. They're literally fighting for, their survival just now. Big part of this is the land grab, the Greater Israel land grab. They're trying to take on a fair chunk of that entire region. In fact, the American Israeli ambassador last week, live on television, basically said it would be more or less okay, or it is okay, literally okay, for them to go and take the other countries that are run about it, so they can fulfil this prophecy that was in a book for a long time ago. That's the reason as to what's going on just now. That's the truth of, a lot of times, a lot of people believe this is the last opportunity. But because there are so much people in the opposition just now, so many people can actually see what's going on, so many people are confused and asking questions as to why Israel is so important, why America stands with Israel, why Britain stands beside Israel, what's the importance of that, why are we doing that, what do we get from them? And then when you start to look at it really closely, and you start to ask the questions as to what is their right that they're claiming? What is the truth? Again, the truth sets us free, so what is the truth? And up until very, very recently, the minute you spoke up or out against the group of people which would be called Jews, and this is where you need to be very, very careful, because Jews, the Jewish people, and again, there's massive separation taking place just now within all of that, because this isn't the Jews that's doing this. It's so easy to label that, because of, again, social media and what we've been told, and it is the truth, that those people, they've got a tendency toward business and banking and profit, and there's a lot of times where that's, absolutely not fair, and people don't like that. But it is business, and shame on those who get caught up in it. If you once you understand what a certain system is, like how it's taking advantage of you, you've got a choice to be in it. Just unfortunately, the world is almost set up solely so that you need to be in that system. So it's very difficult to get away from it. Whether the banking system or obviously the whole financial system and how it's geared towards once you borrow the money, then they've kind of got you. Once you're in that system, and then the whole world's designed around about that, and the bondage that it keeps you in, and the lack that it keeps you in, and how one-sided that deal is. Looking at things like mortgages or borrowing money, and the entire thing is very, very difficult. So that being said, this whole thing is not about. It's not the Jews that are doing this. Anybody that knows anything will understand that it's the Zionists that are doing this, which is a group of people, and they stand behind, they stand beside the Jewish religion. And this is where, for the longest time, anything you said against that, maybe even me, just as neutral as I've tried to be there, and Jewish people are great people. I don't know many of them, but it's the same as Russian people are great people, and it's the same as American people. Like normal people are good people, British people are good people. And we've got this really kind of skewed perspective, of what somebody is by the stereotype that we're fed and programmed into. Again, what you believe in, the belief system that we've got for how certain parts of the world are, and just because they're different, we don't understand it, and that becomes a threat a lot of the time. But the Zionists, the Zionism, and what that is, when you look into that. That's what's behind this. This is nothing to do with religion. It's nothing to do with, the kind of certainly the Jewish religion or the Jewish people. This is way beyond that. And there's a massive separation within all that just now. Jews standing up against Zionism because they've been a lot for the longest time. They've been tarred beside it. They've been kind of lumped in with it, and that is absolutely changing. So the Saturday, the leader, the supreme leader. In his place with his inner circle. I believe some of his children were there, his grandchildren were there as well, and they took him out with a missile and basically killed him. And straight away, they thought America straight away on the news. That's it, we've got them. This is our chance. And Trump then gives the rallying speech. Like the call to arms. Like this is your chance. He's down. Let's go and do it the way that it's meant to be done. Do it our way, the right way. Where everybody's everybody's get the freedom that we believe is the way that it should be. And straight away what happened was really significant, because he became a martyr instantly. So he's got, I believe a following of over 300 million in the world. Iran's got like 80, 90 million, I believe, in the country. So 300 million worldwide, and this man is their ultimate, their supreme, religious figure, their connection to the divine. And when you understand their, what their belief system is, and the ideology in terms of what they're doing and the religion, and that to them, so they believe already instantly he's sitting, up in heaven, having conversations with the greats, Jesus Christ and the Prophet Muhammad, and he's sitting with the Buddha, and he's literally in heaven. They believe that, incidentally, if they die for their cause, their religion, then that's exactly what happens to every single one of them. So then it becomes like an honour to give your life for God, and for something you believe in, and to stand up to the oppressor, who's basically trying to take away your ability to live that life that you desire, which is, and they believe, and they are, incredibly powerful, their religion and how their practice and how disciplined they are. The amount of time they fast, even looking at Ramadan that's going on just now, how serious they are about the spirituality side, the connection to the divine, and how they do it. Very, very powerful people. And straight away, the rally to the streets, and the pictures that you then saw in Tehran, hundreds of thousands of people on the streets, basically, celebrating this man as a martyr, and celebrating his life and what he'd done. And it literally galvanised, the entire, not just the 300 million people within, their particular group, but you've got to be looking about anybody that's anywhere near that religion, around about the world, and watching what's going on. And for the longest time now, I've felt there's a spiritual war coming that's been getting hyped up for years and years, and every side, weaponising, and really kind of, you see it in the UK with Christianity, you see in America with like Christianity, and then obviously Islam's a big one. That's I feel that's been certainly in the West, how much that's been weaponised over the last few years. So there's a massive uprising just now with all of that as well, which isn't a good thing. Holy war is something that's terrifying. People fighting in the name of God. Can you imagine killing somebody in the name of God because you think you're more significant, or the way that you understand God is better than somebody else who grew up in a different part of the world and has got a different colour of skin and speaks a different language and thinks in a different way and experiences God in their way? To think that there's a possibility, at some point, as there has been many times in the past, where somebody comes into your country and kills you because of that. And if you think that's madness, you don't need to go back too far to look at what the Roman Catholic Church did, the missionaries, and the kind of what they did in Africa, what they did in all the world, and basically it's either this way or there isn't any other way. Even in this country, how far back do you need to go? It's literally hundreds of years, to look at what they did. If you believed in, if you were a Catholic, if you practiced Catholicism, then so there's so many different levels to it, so many different ways that this unfolds, and people's desire to be the most significant to God, which is really, really sad and kind of funny in some ways when you think how ridiculous that is. The just childlike understanding of what the divine is and what God's plans are and what God wants for us and what God would want you to do. It's half terrifying to think how far away we are from that. So they killed the man, they united the people, they united that religion, I would believe, and I think they're really starting to see that it's not going to be as straightforward as they kind of as they'd hoped. And Iran and its partners, again, terrifying when you look at Russia and you look at China. and you look at the people that stand on the other side of the fence. I saw Putin last week. The quote was brilliant. I never took it down at the time, but basically saying that your leaders are demonic, and they are the reason every single thing, what you're going through, all the stuff that's wrong within the Western world just now. You just need to look at the people who are controlling you, your leaders, what they've done to you. They're the ones, it's their fault. If anything happens, it's their fault. So it's like they're starting to flex a wee bit. They're starting to, they support Iran. They did last year when America attacked them. China, they're very much reliant, on the oil and the gas that comes out of there, for their manufacturing. And they're standing, they're already in. There's a coalition with them already, with the BRICS movement and the change in currency. So there's so many things going on just now. The American empire is absolutely falling. Interesting the timing. The strikes, watching it for the last couple of weeks, knowing what's coming and watching the pressure building and not going away with the Epstein stuff for Trump. Or everybody else that was involved in it. Where does it stop? We don't know. And the new stuff that's going to be coming out. There's still, was it 1 million pages or 3 million pages still to be released. And the big thing in that's going to be the 9/11 stuff. That's where all the bits that are missing. So once that comes out, if that does come out and if they start to know the truth as to who took down the towers, and again you create the problem and then you offer the solution within minutes. I remember watching it. It was 2 days after my son was born. I was fitting a conservatory and it came on the telly and the world stopped, literally stopped. So I'd been up the towers the year before, been in New York and been up the Twin Towers, and when I saw it coming in and I watched it, I was like, holy what the and then straight away Osama bin Laden, the terrorist, this is who's to blame. And then you look at the whole thing as you're going through it, the whole thing as you're making your way through it for many, many years after it, and the conspiracy stuff, always kind of felt something wasn't right from the very beginning. Even the thought that a plane could take down the towers. I saw a film, I've maybe mentioned this last week in the Godcast, I saw a film, Trading Places, and they're walking into the building. And I remember being walking into that square, the buildings were right across from each other. I remember walking into it and you can almost not see the top of them. The columns and the pillars, the concrete, it was all done in this kind of, the shape of the glass, it was kind of narrow panels and it was mostly concrete. I never knew this at the time, but the steel that supported it. And you think of the size of them. I saw it in that film last week, a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, there's no way in this earth. A missile, you couldn't. There's my wife coming back, my dog, make a wee interruption here. A missile, it needs to be a really significant missile to be able to take something like that down, never mind just a plane, a passenger plane. Even with all the fuel in it, to actually bring the scale of that down was. And when all the stuff started coming out, how quick they get rid of the evidence from that. It was a crime scene. Over 3,000 people died in it. So they basically scraped up all the metal and get the metal away, all the steel. So there was no chance to do any investigation. Obviously, there's well documented the man that owned it missed work that day. Lucky Larry, they call him. And had, by some trait of just like divine inspiration, had insured it in a different way months before it. And was able to, so he get the insurance money for it and also the rights to what would happen after it, and then you've got the teams in America, the architects. There's a name for the Architects for Justice or Architects for Truth. For the longest time, structural engineers, American, trained, university qualified, actually saying that there's no way this could happen. This is why, explaining and showing evidence as to how the buildings fell. The 3 buildings, the 2 towers and the one that they're now starting to talk about, building 7, which is, again, funnily enough, the building that was the entire defence. So the building that you want for when your country's under attack. At the same time as they were, sorry, just getting a wee bit truthery. I'm just talking about different things and showing you what you're dealing with. The same time that there was planes allegedly flying into these buildings and the Pentagon, they were doing on the air traffic control within Building 7, which controlled Homeland Security. So this is the place that you need. They were doing drills on the screens, which were basically training drills. And the controllers didn't know what was real and what wasn't. That was one of the stories that they tell. So, and there's thousands of stories. There are so many, maybe a wee bit different now, it's much more restricted. But going back 10 years ago, 9/11 stuff was just everywhere, every single day. Like theories, the dancing Israelis, the guys that were filmed as the plane goes into the building, it's blown up. There's 5 guys who became known as the dancing Israelis. You probably should still get it online. That are celebrating as this is happening, and then how there's so many bits to it. So you need to. The point of that is like if that comes out, if that the 9/11 comes out in terms of who did it. You're the people that are your president. Your president could be involved in it, and the CIA, and how that feeds into. Obviously, Mossad is a huge part of that. So much evidence of Mossad being involved in it, and how they were able to blow up the building. And then you go. So what else? What is this tie? Why? What people are asking is, what is the tie between America and Israel? What is that? Why is that so significant? What have they got over America? And it might just be the stuff they've got, the Epstein stuff and the evidence. That might just be it. That might be the reason as to why America's doing what it's doing. Because there's no reason for it to do it. There's no reason that every single president, how they all bow the knee to Israel because of something that was written in a book. There must be more than that. There is. Of course there is. We all know that now. It just depends on what it actually is that they've got and how far that goes. So, interesting timing. Epstein stuff every single day, and then the ultimate distraction is war. You can't deal with that stuff when at war. Don't be so silly. How can we'll deal with that later on? So it's put in, and they'll be hoping, which it can't happen with this. There's so many people shouting about it, saying this needs resolved because they can see that it's a distraction. They can see that whether the war is only for distraction or not, maybe not, but people can see through it. So the timing, Saturday, coming through, watching it, kind of feeling what had happened straight away, getting the news about the Supreme Leader, and then seeing, what it done for them, how it galvanised them later on that day. And then the big thing, and this is where war is hell. And again, you don't see this anywhere in the Western media. Or maybe you do, I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I've certainly, where I got it from, and how it was reported in terms of the images that it showed. And you can now see there's certain YouTube channels now that are starting to show the reports that happened when on Saturday, basically, a girls' school, ages between 7 and 12, a missile fired from the US, one of the aircraft carriers, and it took out a school, Saturday morning school, all females, almost 180 people. Maybe more now. I don't know what the latest number is, but up to 180 people. That was yesterday. Were killed at this school. And the video that I saw, there was a man talking, and he was holding up school books. So this is the chaos where the parents have just dropped their kids off at school, and then within no time at all, this just, where do you even begin? As a parent, where do you begin with that? But then driving back to the school, and then searching through the rubble with their hands, and there's a man standing with a child's arm in his hand, and he's talking about it, and he's saying the kid, this is like a 5 or 6 year old kid, and he's standing with a book, and it's like, holy fuck, who does that? What is it that enables man to do that? What level of, if they're even human beings, which many people again believe that they're not, believe that they're subhuman in some way, and the things that they do. And then you think about the things that they do with children, all the Epstein stuff and the paedophilia stuff, like all of they call it the Epstein class, but it's really the ruling class, the controlling classes. Not the owners, but they're obviously involved in it as well, but the underneath that class that's basically fucking everybody else. If they can do that to children, the things that they do to children, then of course when they blow up a school and they kill 180 young women, did they even blink? Did they even consider it? Is that just the cost of war? Is that just, is that they're doing that to save these people and get this leader out so they can bring in a new way of doing it? And so is that okay? Does that balance up? Is that correct? And obviously it's not. It's not right. It really isn't. And this is why, when I saw that man, it was like there's like a resolve within them. The people in that area, they've had it so bad for so long from the West, and they hate the West, and understandably. When I saw that earlier on today, I was thinking about, imagine that had been like my child, and driving back to school and putting yourself, because it's easy to go, people are so desensitised now, they don't fucking have time. They're so in fight and flight and stressed and, you know, dealing with their own shit. They capture it and they're so overstimulated, you know, especially with these fucking games and films and the horrors that we see. So when you see something like that, it becomes like the normal almost. Your nervous system's had so many like jolts and shocks that you go, it takes a lot to really shock you now. But when you actually stop and you know, if you've got compassion at all for a fellow human being, and the people that if there's 180 people, how many 100 people are affected with that? You know, like directly affected, the mums and the dads and the brothers and the sisters, and there was teachers killed, between 7 and 12, like children. Innocent children, you know, going to school on a Saturday morning to better themselves, and you know, a missile for the fucking, and it ends their life, and the devastation that causes. And watching this man, it was so like nothing is going to deter us from ending this. This is why this war is terrifying in many ways, because America on one hand it's in free fall. The entire American, what do you call it? It's like fucking whatever they've created. It's not an empire. It's like a fucking circus. It's basically sneaked in and tricked people, just because they were probably, I wouldn't say cleverer, but more different intentions. Again, the Zionist stuff, the desire for power and whatever dark forces that these people, whoever they are, whoever they serve, and you know, watching that whole thing. Watching it unfold, and seeing, for me, and how significant it was on that day, was for the longest time I've been talking about the prophecy that came through for Babaji, you know, my teacher, my spiritual teacher, and it was meant to be at some point this year. But with this work, with the spiritual stuff, you're always like kind of, you see it for what it is, and you hope it doesn't go a certain way, but you're always hoping there's going to be chance, there's going to be time for the light and the divine and God to come back in. That's always it until it actually happens. But when Saturday actually happened, and when I felt, you know, like the girls, when I heard the news about that, and I saw the people like rising up and standing against it, and looking at both sides of it in terms of, you know, what's at stake here, and the powers on both sides of it. Then, unfortunately, you know, that prophecy for Babaji through the Whisper series, through Saj Mark, and him talking about, you know, this year, like cataclysmic events. That's what we've been talking about. I've got the screenshot on my phone. Whispers from the Brighter World. It was channeled 40, 50 years ago, I believe. And so many prophecies that came through this woman when he died have came true, and I don't really have much knowledge or expertise in that realm in terms of channeling information, but there's a whole history of this woman and how it came through for Babaji and how exact and the, I suppose, the evidence that they got, and especially the prophecies that came true. And this year was always the year that they said it was going to happen. And the prophecy starts with like 25 years from now, and the date, I looked at the date on Sunday, and it could have knocked me away a feather. It was 25 years to the day. So when Trump was doing the 3 o'clock in the morning, which was on the 1st of March, he was doing the middle of the night press conference, that had actually already taken place. So it actually happened on the last day of February, which was 25 years to the day of his prophecy, which just gave me shivers. You know, it's like really a really sad day. It was a really kind of heavy day, feeling. It really affected me negatively, massively, and which you need to go through. Again, it's like you get hit with an uppercut and you see the world how it is and how bad it is and what they're doing, and you know the loss that is already taking place in war. It's almost funny when you watch the thing in Dubai, you know, and you imagine the amount of influencers. I've not seen any of them. I've saw a couple of news snippets, you know, so I don't follow really anybody on socials. But you can imagine all these fucking plastic influencers, like pumped up to whatever with their, you know, their lips and their fucking muscles, excuse me, and their, you know, just their fake bullshit fucking lives, like worried about like getting up that fucking plastic lifestyle and circus and where they're going to have to go now. And not that far down the road, there's 180 kids, 180 children have been killed, slaughtered, you know, by people that are on their side, Westerners, many of them for, you know, obviously America, and you know, they're all over the world, Dubai, but the amount of people I know that live there, like from the UK, so we're in it. United Kingdom's part of this. The very first day, it kept saying there's planes in the air, planes are in the air, you know, so even though we're not fully in, we're still part of it. And this is where you need to be very careful who you stand beside. You need to be very, very careful because it's like tarred with the one brush. And the response that was immediate when they stood together as a people, when that nation, and with their religion and with their belief system, and how it united them, how they instantly came back, and the power that was in that was, that's something to be very, very concerned about. And the fact that there's not just them, there's so many people, the fact I'm even having this conversation, there's so many people in the West that are fucking tired of it. So many people can see through it. So many people know that there's something not quite right. And so many people know the literal truth, the truth that I believe that I'm speaking. I can actually see why they're doing it and who's going to lose out and the lives that are going to be cost. And, God forbid, but, eventually, why does that not find its way to our door? We've never ever had to deal with anything like this. This is normal for many of these people. But for us, we've never had to deal with any of that. The thought of like stuff getting blown up, and there's certain things that happen now and again, but to be at war for years on end and to have shortages and to have lack and to lose people that you love, that's something we've never been through. But this time that we're in, the response needs to be global. People need to stand up and say no, like enough's enough, like fucking stop. And what you do with them, I would leave that to God. As I said a couple of podcasts ago, I would take them all, every single one of them that stands for that side of things, the owners, the suppressors, the people that are trying to fucking rip you off and steal for you and keep you down, which they are, of course they are, that entire system. Take them and put them on, and that island wouldn't be big enough. Obviously, you need to find a bigger island. Maybe that island is United Kingdom. Maybe this is big enough to bring them on, and fucking fence the whole thing in, and leave them there. Take anything away from it they can basically hurt themselves with, all the weapons, and just let them be. Fence them in and let them live out the rest of their lives, and prepare them best that you can by sending them all the best for what they've done. And wishing them all the best of luck for when they stand before God and she asks them, like, how did it go? What did you do? Because, the way they sell their soul, obviously, the way they give up whatever it is, their, themselves, their literal souls is the best way to do it. They're selling themselves, the divine essence that you bring into this world. They're giving that up in exchange. And a lot of them know they're doing that. A lot of the music people and the Muppets don't know that. But when you get to the higher levels, they serve one master. They serve the dark side of the force, whatever that means to them, whatever levels they fucking horribleness and darkness and depravity and just fucking stinkingness, whatever they do, like, good luck to them. But this realm, this world isn't meant to be like that. It really isn't. This world is meant to be different. This is divine. This place that we are in, it is divine. It's been created by the divine. It's just been took over. The right people are in charge of it. And for the longest time they'll get away with it. The controlling families, for whatever reason, how far back that goes, whatever allowed them at the start, they were probably just a wee bit cleverer than everybody else. Or, as I believe, they had the information or access to the information that most people didn't have. Again, a lot of this about keeping down the truth and a lot of that is the information of what we are as a people and what we are as a species and what this planet is and how it evolved and how we got to where we are. And a big part of that's the divine. A big part of that is your relationship with the divine and God and how that goes together. They gave us religion, but that doesn't really work. Obviously, look at it just now. It's when you're able to separate people and get them to believe that they need to fight for a certain version of God against each other. You understand what God is, and you understand the divine nature and the real divine way, which all of us, when you look back at as a people, over how many thousands of years, the amount of different ways that it's tried to be expressed and explained with the language that was available to the people, wherever they were, So the way that I would experience God would be different for somebody that was living, in the Caribbean, or somebody that was living down in Australia. If you were an Aborigine living in Australia, or if you're a Native American, living in America, then there's different ways, depending on your environment, of how the divine would be expressed to you. There's different needs as well. So life would be very different, and the language was different, and the way of living and being was different. So, but you look back at every single one, and we're all trying to explain the same stuff. So they all knew at certain times, every single one of them, all of the ancient civilizations, they knew what the divine was. They understood the natural order of things, and they, whoever it is that are controlling the world, I believe they still do know that. They know all of that, but the way that it's set up, the way that it's now done, in terms of the control and the greed and the power, and you add into that who's running it, the dark side of the force, then it's a terrible combination. And for whatever reason, they've got the upper hand just now. They're in charge. I can't cross my legs. They're in charge. They're in charge. That's that wee squeak I was talking about. It's an unconscious squeak, but it's just so much pain. They're in charge just now. They're in control. They've got the buttons on the weapons, and control of the financial institutions, and control what we eat and what we see, and how we basically the quality of lives. That's what a trick that's been. Getting us away from how it was meant to be. I spoke to Michael, who's down in Morocco just now, and he was talking about the shepherds and the farmers that are sitting up in the hills for hours on end with their flock, no phones, disconnected for the world, and just how wholesome and how good life is. The ability to experience that and not be distracted in the millions and millions of ways that we are in the West. It's the whole life seems like it's a distraction. So the response is on. People are standing up. This video, this recording, is really although I've been speaking about the dark side of it, then it's how do we make it better? How do we fix it? That's what it needs to be. Otherwise, I'm just another reporter talking about, how bad it is and what they're trying to do to us and what they're actually literally doing to us. So the fight is on. Darkness versus light. The fight for your soul. That's what's happening just now. I do believe. I've been talking about it for many, many years now. I've felt it, seen it, experienced it for so many years now. What they're trying to do to keep us separate from the stuff that they know, the stuff that they probably don't do, I would imagine, but they use it for their own self-gain or their greater good, for greater bad gain. All the kind of evilness and the horribleness and whatever energy that is that's feeding that. Again, there's so many bits to that I don't want to get into. But the answers and the solutions and the way forward through all this, that's what I'm really interested in. And how do we do that? And this is where, that this everything that's happening just now, all the stuff that's taking place, all the kind of, you need to believe, I do feel, that it's, there is some sort of divine power behind it. There is some sort of force. It's having faith in the divine and building a relationship with the divine and knowing the divine. That's why I can get to speak with this. That'll be difficult for somebody to hear. It doesn't have a meditation practice, or has never switched off their nervous system, or is, eating in Greg's 5 days a week and reading the Daily Record and going to the Fitbit and getting pushed in full of gear at the weekend. You won't hear this. You can't. You're too switched on. You're basically lost. You're trapped in the circus. You're trapped in the illusion. Anybody that doesn't have at least an inkling to ask the question what this is all about, or even before you get to the deeper stuff, who am I? What is this? The journey of me. Who am I? Who are me? Who is me? Most people aren't there. Most people are just surviving through life, low level consciousness. God bless them. But it's the ignorance that's basically killing us just now. The amount of people will be sitting reading the newspaper today and watching the news and feeling happy. I saw a clip for an American that was celebrating one of the missiles going into some building, and death to them, these animals, and you're just really? It's so fucking limited. But that's where people are. You've just got to respect that, and through education. Education's the way to do it. You say that to give people the awareness, to get them about it, but it's an education process. You need to really learn based on evidence as to what's happening within the world, because most of them are just trapped in their belief system. Somebody's told them something and they believe it. There's never any evidence to what they've been told. They just believe it because they've been linked in to other different systems within their body. It's really got their heartstrings and it's got their juices flowing and it's generated stress within them, and they've got something to link into and to be part of and to identify with, their country and their flag and their fucking all of that. Again, that distraction, that separation from the stuff that's real, the stuff that's truth, that's something that needs to be educated in by giving people the experience of it. And forever and a day, I've always known that unless things are really, really bad, then people don't really get round about this work. It needs to be pretty bad before you can get round about it, and you can come for a one-on-one or come for an experience or come to one of the classes, fine. And that will, a lot of the times, it will give people, switch off their nervous system, learn how to breathe, learn how to get to sleep maybe, or learn how to stop worrying or experience peace of mind. That's just a kind of starter for 10. But once you start to get really into it, once you start to get into the deeper stuff, the spiritual stuff and the meditation stuff, and you start to live it, you start to make it a part of your life, then the power that's in that, and the evidence that I see in terms of how quick that happens, and how quick we can take people from the darkness and the ignorance and being lost, and really, and I always ask the same question, because it's never like this is how it is. You can't do that. You can't tell somebody how it is. What I'd like to ask people is, how's it going? How is that manifesting for you? How is your belief system and the stuff that you're into and the way you're living your life? How is it working for you? And for most people, it's never really bad enough to do something about it. And unfortunately, I've always felt like it needs to become really, really bad for people to get round about this, in terms of this intentional way of living, which is absolutely a spiritual path. The whole thing that I'm doing here is based on and built on top of spirituality, knowledge of God, like unitive knowledge of the divine, that some people call God, having a relationship with that, understanding what it is, like feeling, knowing, seeing, like how to connect with it, how to get the benefits from it, how to use it in your life, how to get into spirit, how to be inspired, how to live your life in a different way, and which is the way that it's meant to be. So it's really quite simple, that anybody can understand this. Anybody can, once you get them you give me a couple of hours and you take them through a process, and if they're struggling enough, and you start to show them like maybe this is an opportunity, maybe this is a different way of doing it, and that way that I'm talking about isn't my way, it's the way of doing it. It's the natural path. It's the way that's in alignment with the divine and with Mother Nature and this planet, and our own nature as human beings is obviously part of that. It's we're not here by mistake. We're in this realm for a reason, and everything we need is in this realm. So at that point, to coming through this, how far this goes, how far this war, and how far it reaches, there will come a time when it finishes. And when it comes to that point, we don't need everybody, but we need enough. You need, it's like the 100th monkey effect. You need a certain amount of people to basically stand up and no want to continue fighting, and no want to get revenge, or no want to seek justice for what's been done wrong to them, but to actually draw a line in the sand and go, you know what, that doesn't work. It's like war is fucking literally hell. That whole thing that I've spoke about, that war, that's a hell. That's their hell. And by no mistake, the ones that are running it, hell, they like hell. They think they like hell. Maybe when they leave this world, it might be a wee bit different. Hopefully it's different for them. But it's like hell on earth. They're literally creating a hell on earth. When you're doing that to a school and killing that amount of people, like children, young girls. And there's nobody talking about it. There's none of the fucking, women's rights fucking... You see them in America shouting and bawling all the time, these like middle class fucking white, and it's like, where are they all? Where are they talking about this? There's nobody talking about it. So other side, how we rebuild it, how we get it back to the way that it's meant to be, it's going to take a wee bit of pain and suffering. I do feel that. And it started, and I hope it's over very, very quickly. And I hope enough people, in some way, whatever way that is, determined with God and the divine and consciousness, however way that comes through, just I hope that they people can deal with the lessons that we need, and the understandings that we need as a species. And it's just a shame that so many people are going to have to go through it to have the choices. And this is the danger that you've got also. It's like so many people are it's revenge. Then when it becomes somebody's taking away your daughter, then the first thing is revenge. How can you basically get your own back? That's the starter for 10, isn't it? So then it continues on, and there's not really any end to that. And we need to break the chains. We need to say stop. We need to get to a point that's like too much. Like this needs to be done, and that will happen because the force that's causing this is exhaustible. It's a sneakery, it's a trickery, it's an illusion, it's lies. It's built on deceit, so that can only keep going for a certain amount of time. Eventually it will run out of steam. That's where when there's people standing up, and Putin and the Chinese, I've no doubt will stand up against it as well, and many other parts of the world, the East and South America as well, I would imagine, will stand up against this, America and their allies fucking us, and they'll realise that it's time to do it in a different way. And then when we break the chains, we need to replace it. And that's where the end goal, you take down the oppressors, which sometimes you need to smash a bully. I've always felt that the best way to deal with a bully is to break his fucking nose. That's it. If there's somebody bullying you and there's no other way to do it, where you're going to lie down and meditate and send them love, and the bully keeps beating you and doesn't stop ever beating you, at some point, for me, my belief system is the bully needs taking out. There's a time for that. That's if the intention is correct and the bully is in it for his own good, and people are suffering and there's loss taking place, and the greater good is fallen in terms of in every area just now. But if the greater good is worse off because the bully's gaining for himself, then you need to fucking take them out. There's only one way to do that. So that's what could be coming. The fall of the American Empire, Britain, how that goes, behind that. They're already in crisis with the financial markets and the debt. The world's turning on that already, selling and buying up their debt and getting rid of them and starting to put pressure on them. So there's so many different ways this war can affect, even just the gas and the oil already, with the Strait of Hormuz being closed. It'll be interesting to see how that goes if this war continues, how much we rely on, fuel, like fucking petrol and electricity to do the stuff that we need to do, to put bread on the table, to get to go to work. And then when you get at work, what these factories and what industry requires, there's 20% of the world comes through that gap in the water, which is now blocked. So we're heading, could be by design, could be doing all of this to bring down the Western world. Trump might be a force for good, you never know. It's fucking this worry, it's a circus, the whole thing is a circus. And this is why you can't really, it's like, what do you know and what do you not know? What's the truth in all of this? And you see the damage that these fucking clowns are doing every single day. But one of my great teachers was like, there's always the presence of the divine in the background that can be working in ways you can't understand. So maybe that's what's going on just now. I hope that, I hope that God is in full control of it. It's doing what it needs to do, and, creating the casualties required to create this uprising and overthrow of the bully. And dismantle their entire system. Let's get them all down. All the bankers, all the people that are tricking us and trapping us. Do away with all of them. Get them on. Let's get an island big enough and put them on it and just leave them there and fence them in. We could probably film it. Mike Attenborough, he would be inside the fence, I would imagine. We get somebody else to film it and narrate it and just watch what happens to him over the next 10, 15. Imagine Donald Trump, where he had no money, no power, no politics. He was just one of them. And Netanyahu as well. Imagine him, just one of them. And then you add in all the royals, all the ruling classes, the Bill Gates. You would fucking the law of the jungle. That would be fascinating. It would go from being a zoo that we're in just now, where there's fences between the animals. In some cases, sometimes the pens are wide open, but to go out and be like a fully fleshed fucking like wildlife jungle, like the real jungle. Just watching them all with those level of consciousness. Eating each other, literally, they fuckers, but killing each other, and be interesting to see what kind of society they would create and how that would be lived out. And then I'd be educating them every single day. This is where you're going. I'd be battering them with the light of the divine. I'd have millions of people around about them just meditating and sending them fucking love and try and get them prepared for standing in front of God. And she asked them, what did you do? How was it? And then may God have mercy on their soul. So, the end goal, that's a great plan, isn't it? Getting them on an island, I love that. End goal is, the realisation of the truth. The end goal is liberation from the circus, from being trapped in this world that doesn't make sense, in this world with so many illusions, so much sickness, so much disease. It's to be liberated from that with the truth, and then that means the direct experience, of what's real. Which is, God, the divine, and then the experience of the fact that it's in every single one of us. That's the kind of sad bit about all this, how far we've gotten away from that basic truth that we carry the divinity inside of us, what God actually is. And this isn't about religion, this is way beyond that. So as one, in union with the divine, as a people, as a world, I mean, what would the possibilities of that ever happening? At some point, I remember Babaji talking about thousands and thousands of years, 10,000 years maybe, or maybe 20,000 years, how long it would take for people to get to the place where, it was harmony and it was in coherence and it was, in alignment with the planet and, the divine, and how to tap into that and how to use it and how to live in that way. Because every single thing we need is here. It's just how we It's just how we realise that. And the stuff we've been sold in terms of the things that we thought that we needed, that hasn't gone too well. It really hasn't. It needs to get back to the way that it's meant to be, which is the truth. That's the truth. So that's where it's dead simple. It's the truth that sets us free, and that's why this time is such a great time for truth. It's such a great time to get it up and get it out. Even with all of them, that's like, what did you do? Right, okay, like, fuck it, get them to the island, and that's it. Like, shut the gates. Here's another lorry load coming. And maybe fine, you just keep putting them in and just throwing them in and just making a bigger fucking wall, whatever that is, so they can never escape from it. And at the same time, we on the other side, that understand the way that it's meant to be, the light. So this is about taking back the power from the dark side and back to the light, and watching what we could create with that. And I do feel there's been times in the past. If you look back at ancient times, that Atlantis and the different civilizations, apparently, if you listen to anybody that's into that, and I don't really, but I've had a couple of really learned people that I trust, and I respect their, in terms of their work, and I expect their integrity, and I've been present with them, and some of that stuff is coming through them. And a lot of the times they say the same stuff. It's like what we're doing just now in terms of fucking about with the fabric of nature, cloning things, and messing about with atoms, and the thing that's over in Switzerland, that thing when they're doing that kind of stuff, that kind of level when you're manipulating energy and you're starting to fuck about with how things are meant to be. A lot of people believe that back in the day that's exactly the same thing that these advanced civilizations were doing. So it's a time for change. It's a time for doing it in a different way, because this way doesn't work. So many people are suffering, so many people are on their knees, so many people are down and broken. So that, in some way, it needs to happen. I know that I'm excited about it because I can feel there's a lot of pain coming, but the other side of it is what it's all about. It needs to happen. You can't have it. It's like having the school bully every day, batter and fuck at everybody in the school, and he's the only one that gets to eat because he takes everybody's lunch money. He's the only one that gets to play football because he's burst everybody's ball and keeps one for himself. You can't have that. At some point, he needs to drop. And somebody needs to drop them. And there's a few of them, so there needs to be a few more of us. And there's enough standing in the light just now. There's enough people that are integrous, and there's enough people that are in it for the greatest good. There really is, and I'm talking about some world leaders. You just don't get to see them that much. But there are people out there who are standing up against this tyrannical, demonic, subhuman, satanic. It is. It must be, whatever they interpretate that as, and beyond that even, whatever it is that they're into, whatever it is that they represent, what they serve. There's enough people standing up against that just now, and it's power over force. The real power that's in that over, the lack, that dark force, the kind of sneakery and the trickery, which has been getting its own way up to now. That's why I can control the religions, and because there's no power in that really. There's no real divine power, certainly not the religions I grew up around about. But the power of the knowledge of what's inside of you, and then how much more powerful that becomes when you tap into the source, and then when you stand together in union, as an army of God, a literal army of God, standing up for the light must prevail. It must prevail. The darkness can't win this. It cannot. The light of the divine must prevail. The light of God must prevail in this. It's so much more powerful. It's very simple to bring in. It's very simple to experience and to get the benefits from it. And love is the way, man. That's the thing. Love transcends all of the fear, all the negativity, all the separation and the lack and the loss. So we need to get back into our hearts. We need to get back into our souls. We need to get quiet and get out of our heads and stop thinking and stop being worried and stop being angry and stressed. And experience peace of mind, and then we need to reconnect back into the self, back into these higher centres, back into your heart, back into your soul, which is back into you. Reconnect back into yourself. Remember who you are. Remember that power, that divine power, through direct experience. No me talking about it, but the direct experience of the divinity that's inside you. The power of God is literally inside every single one of us, and that's really exciting. And it fixes every single thing that it touches. And then, we need to normalise God. We need to normalise meditation. We need to normalise people doing breathwork. People being conscious and deliberate with their life. We need to normalise, things like love and compassion and being able to speak your fucking truth and be yourself. And that's all based on the truths. So there's a lot of non-truths that are in this world just now that need to be replaced. We need to bring back the truth. Some very, very basic ones, but there are a whole load of truths that need to be brought back. That's the only chance we've got. It's the truth that sets us free, and the way that it's meant to be. the way is the way. There is only one way. It's the divine order. And there's enough people and there's enough information and enough information that's been gathered over the years in terms of what that is. But you need to get back to basics, back to the ancient texts, back to the ancient practices, which will be a struggle. And whether we can do that, the state and how conditioned and programmed and switched on we are just now, and how, even how much we rely on the current systems. It's all right saying they'll replace the system, but you need to, if that comes down, the one that we rely on, where do we start? How do we go about that? So there could be bumpy times coming up depending on how far this goes. So meditation is a great thing. Fasting, I would recommend, definitely. That's been calling me. Just been, again, doing away with addictions, doing away with the stuff that you rely on. Preparing, Bushido, preparing for war, preparing for battle. And a spiritual, with spiritual intention and for the greatest good, and hardening yourself, becoming more resilient, becoming more, less reactive and more responsive, becoming more aware in terms of seeing what they're trying to do, or even what they do and what your reaction to that is and how it's affecting you. So we're going to be a lot of lessons on this, a lot of lessons as we go through this war, depending on how far it goes, and please God that it stops very, very quickly. But maybe this is the time where it needs to go to its completion, to do away with the stuff that's holding us back as a species. And this might be our last chance, which is kind of a wee bit terrifying. But this is where you need the faith. You need the faith in the divine. You need to know the power of God. You need to understand the power of creation and the power of the conscious field of infinite intelligence, the quantum field that we're sitting in right now, every single one of us. And the source energy that's allowing that to happen, and the source behind all of it, which is God, the divine. So there's so much goodness in this world. There's so much power and so much light in this world. There's so many solutions. We've got everything we need to make it right, but we just need to, at this point, stand up for what's right, and take away the bits that aren't and replace them, and rebuild something on the other side. War is absolutely, literally hell. And the answer to war and the answer to all of that is love. It is. It's the love of God. It's not peace. Peace doesn't work. No, it's love. The opposite of war is love. We need to get to a place of experiencing what love is, like real unconditional love, which is the vibration, that sacred vibration that we get to express God. So it all ties in together. It's all right saying love is the answer, but what even is that? That's something that you need. It's an energy field. It's a frequency that you can access through your heart and meditation. And when you tap into it, you'll feel, that's you in the field, you'll feel the power of God. You'll feel the power of the divine, because that's what that is. That's how we are able to experience it within our body. Can't get it in your head. Can't get it with your mind. Can't get it with thoughts, our images, our words. It's feeling. You get it through your feelings and your emotions. And if we're so switched on, which we are, and we're so in stress, which we are, and we're so lost in our heads, then again, by design, maybe they've taken us out of these ancient guidance, these mechanisms to navigate your feelings and your emotions and your gut, your intuition. Remember all that kind of stuff? That's no used anymore. It's like you're in the head, and if you're in trauma, if you're experiencing like PTSD for something you've been through, try to say to that man that's holding that wee girl's arm in that pile of rubble, to get out of your head and into your heart. It's like that trauma can get so locked in that people can sometimes they never escape for that. But again, the only way to transcend that, the only way is the love of God. And that's why them and their religion, that's how they'll be able to get through this, what their belief system is. So it's a fascinating time, it really is. We need to stay in the light, we need to keep doing the meditations, we need to keep helping people. I'm one person at a time every single day just now. That's my contract with the divine. Reconnect people back to how they're meant to feel, switch off their stress, give them a meditation practice so they know what it is, experience a wee bit of love, a wee bit of light back in their hearts, have compassion for themselves. Stop, give yourself a break. I'm going to be talking a lot about the moment, the now. Again, Saturday was so profound in so many different ways. It was heavy going, but the stuff that came through off the back of that, my meditation later on, about the significance and the power that's in every single moment, and the ability to tap into it and allow it to literally become it. It's like putting the glass of the ocean, taking the glass out of the ocean, the glass of water, and it's separated from it, and then you put it back into it and it becomes the ocean again, and all it's doing is becoming the ocean. It's taking on the power of the ocean. I've been very much aware of certainly new lessons for me, like a massive download, probably late Saturday night, maybe early Sunday morning. about the power of the moment, and thinking about Eckhart Tolle, about the power of now, and then Joe Dispenza, the generous present moment. And so many different quotes for the Tao and different spiritual texts about the significance of like being in the moment, being present. And I've been doing a lot of that and really reaping the benefits in so many different ways, tapping into things that in levels of power all at the one time, and being aware that everything's there. Where else can it be? We understand this conscious field. There's got every single thing in it there's ever been, in some place, in some space within this vortex, this field. The ability then is to go in and become part of that moment through meditation and the power of your awareness and your intention, and then to take on the power of that moment of anything you need. It doesn't matter what you need. It's been fascinating with this injury in my back, the meditations that I've been doing, and really like getting into that space where it disappears and pain is gone, and then you come back and you protect yourself a wee bit, and the pain comes back, and it's like, fuck, I'm pretty sure I just get rid of that. So always learning, always evolving, always trying to make sense of stuff so that I can pass it forward and pay it on, and help people, with the stuff that I'm doing. This is all I do. I'm working on it all the time. It's all about the divine way. It's all about God. It's all about our true nature. It's all about the truth. It's all about the light. It's all about people finding relief. It's all about getting it back to the way that it's meant to be. And that never stops for me. And there's a lot of really exciting stuff going on just now, a lot of opportunities and chances, and really giving thanks to the people that are showing up and that are helping. We're taking this mission as a mission now. It's going to the world. We're going to help as many people as we can, and it's a year of much change, and the timing of it, how it's shown up for us, how it's shown up for me. The last 29 years that I've done, which has been like my apprenticeship, to be in a position now where I'm ready to take it to another bit and to help more people, so it's going to be a lot of changes for us, a lot of changes for me, and I'm excited by them. Also, obviously a wee bit apprehensive, and being a human being, you get a wee bit fearful, but that's where the meditation comes in. That's where you remember the mission. You remember, as a soldier of God, to literally take this to the world and help people reconnect back to the divine. You need to have faith in that, and just really blessed to be in this position just now, and looking forward to what's coming up. So there you go, number 78, War is Hell. By God it is. Please let it be over very, very quickly. Let them find a solution, whatever that is, and let justice be served to those that are needing it, those that are needing taken down, those that are needing replaced. For the love of God, and all that is divine. Let's get back to the way that it's meant to be. I send my deepest love to you and yours. God bless you. Take it easy. Peace out. I'll see you all very soon, and bye for now.